Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions, to the reminder that holiness and infinite love of God is here. To thank Jesus for fulfilling his promises to us, that we are indeed infinite light, and it's just a tiny mad idea. The remembering not to laugh at what's untrue, that we could ever be the tiniest itty bitty idea, that it's an itty bitty idea that we could be separate from God. Let's ask Jesus that. Is it just like the time? It's nothing, he says. Nothing. Nothing. Wow. Okay, Jesus. So we continue to have him teach us how it's absolutely nothing, nothing to fear, and we know our hearts go on. It's so captured when you start hearing it in all the music, when it seems to be one lover singing to another lover, but really it's us singing to ourselves. So instead of the somebody done me wrong song, we sing our only song, the little crickets of God, just singing the joy of unity, of the one mind, of one. Tiny mad idea. I'm asking Jesus to show us what a thought of God is, because obviously there are a lot of other thoughts here that were not of God in the dream play. And to ask him, is my only desire to know the thought of God? And I asked him, does it take that much focus? He said, yes. Because consciousness itself has something in it that the light doesn't have, and that's focus. The light doesn't focus, it just is. Notice in the light of divine being doesn't focus, it just is. Consciousness, it's a functionality, conscious focus. That's how we get the shark effect, looking to keep the play alive, to notice. Now there's a great little activity where where you're asked to look around a room and look for everything that's red. Okay, so here's something red here. And then close your eyes and list all the things that are green, which is an example of the play of consciousness. Like as soon as the thought arises, okay, look for red, it looks for red, it notices it. It's a homing mechanism for this. Homing colors and sounds and tastes, and then staple, think, put a thought on it. That means I'm unloved, actually. He said essentially that's it. And even with just that exercise, it's like, what's wrong with me? I didn't see all the green things. I didn't remember any. Then it counts up that I remember enough of the green ones. And to see that the demonstration is just the play in consciousness, the selectivity in consciousness, how it just plays to be selective, to choose some things more important than others. The way a room looks. That we can actually choose safety. Like if we just stay in our little house, we can be safe. Like we're really safe. It's an idea. See that that's the idea of safety is an idea. Is that true, Jesus? It's a concept that a certain place gives safety. That's why he takes us out of our comfort zone and sends us to places that we don't know anything about. If we're following him, like David being sent all over the world, that's what's most helpful. And then, if you feel any tension about being sent all over the world, because remember, the tension is right here, right now, saying no to God. It's the but Jesus right now. So there's no future. So like if he gives you a prompt about something, just notice like the defenses just start pouring out, which creates a sense of a future that something bad's going to happen if I follow that prompt. And then consciousness loves it. It relishes staying with that thought and that story and that bloom of pain in the mind rather than just seeing the lights here. It's the game of I'd rather be dead than God. So just see how it will, to not look directly in this moment. It'll make something up, not to see that peace is already here right now. And then writes a little storyline. If I go there with Jesus, then, but Jesus, if I, that. See, it goes into an if, when I. That he knows where you're happiest, but we don't want him to know that he knows where we're happiest. So then we don't follow spirit, and then we create an entire story to defend why we didn't. See, that's what he's trying to show us. All the defenses. And it's a story about what happened to me. But he's just trying to show us where our greatest happiness is. And it's not being in control. Or with an idea in consciousness that something can be controlled. It's really just having him guide everything. Is our happiness, because he's the only one that knows. We can ask him, Jesus, are you the only one who knows my happiness? Do I even have a clue about what happiness is? And you can hear him, no. And really, until we step out with him enough times to see he is taking care of everything, we just can't develop a relationship with spirit. You can ask him, it's just not. Because we're living inside the story that God's going to get us, or Jesus wants us to do something that I don't want to do. Or that somebody's telling me to do something. See that game? Somebody, it's the game of somebody going to steal heaven from me. Somebody's telling me something I don't like. So it just took out that Post-it note of hell and stuck it to that idea, like that there's someone out. See, there's no one outside of us that can tell us anything to do. It's the concept that it's the desired experience that someone outside of me can steal heaven away from me. It's just a refusal in this moment not to be joined with God with an excuse. This is why I cannot be joined with God, because Jesus is going to tell me to do something in the future that I don't want to. See, it's that play. It just makes a future and it's going to be bad. That's why he gives us assignments, just to see that there's no one, that it's all made up. that someone tells somebody what to do, or it's, remember that our relationship with our brother is the relationship with God. So if we think there's someone outside of us that tells somebody what to do something, we think Jesus is doing the same thing to us. He's going to tell us something we don't want to do. It's such a deep one to look at with him. There's no one outside of us to tell us to do anything. It's to look at the idea that there's a doer and someone to do something, and that happiness comes from doing. From the idea that some kind of experience is going to bring happiness. But it's denying happiness right now, and we start the complaint story. Why do I have to do that, Jesus? You know, that's just the no right here, right now to light. Kills light out of the mind. I'm choosing, what we're really saying, I'm choosing to kill light out of the mind right now, rather than look with Jesus to see that there can't be anyone outside telling anyone to do anything. And there's no Jesus outside telling anyone to do anything. It's impossible. So it's all to see that there's no doer and no one who's doing. He's using that in consciousness. The discriminatory ability with consciousness, instead of using it, misuse of consciousness to prove God is dead, he's turning it in on itself to say, wait, is anything here? Can anything truly steal happiness from me? And to carefully notice what's coming out of our mouths in terms of when we're speaking, to keep the story alive, the story of a me, the defense against truth. At some point, we really have to trust that he has our best interest in mind. There isn't, I'm asking, is there just isn't another way, because it's really trust, again, always points back this way. That I have a higher value. It's really based on how we value ourselves as a divine being. That willingness to step into the fire of truth. I'm willing to step into the fire of truth. I could hear that from Lori. Yes, I am willing to step into. And you need to be really willing, because it's a fire, because all the forces of the suppressed area of consciousness is going to scream at the slightest threat to looking to see that nada. That it's nothing. And to stand into that screaming, just stand into it. So you can see that it really has no power over you. He says, just see that it has no power. But until you stand into, because we're so busy running and making up stories about why they're running, and I gotta go, and Jesus, you're gonna make me do things. That story really, that's a death trap. And if we don't follow him, we're going to feel so guilty, and we're going to claim that he's abandoned us, when really we abandon ourselves by not following ourselves, our true light. And that's when all the kerfuffling happens. He's saving us the kerfuffle, but we don't see it because we think we're being asked to do something that we don't want to do. And then the I comes up strongly and says, well, I'm doing that anyway. I'm going to say no to God, to myself. But we don't see it saying no to our happiness. To extend out the timeline. That's why the joining is so helpful, to be clear. It's really helpful to be clear on when what we're doing, and And just to see how we like to keep that little fiefdom going. I can do this on my own. Like really, really want it. Ask him, Jesus, do I really, really, really want to do it on my own? Is that the truth? And is the real threat, do I feel like I'm threatened by the idea of joining? See, it's a concept, actually. That's just to show it's a concept. Just ask them. How threatened am I by the idea of joining with my brother fully? And then look at the desire to feel threatened over joining. See, it's just a symbol of threat over what's already joined. How we have to make what's already here, the light, threatening. That's so deep. Jesus, do I desire an experience still in which I make the light feel threatening to me? It's always reminding me every time you don't follow me or ask me for the true interpretation. That's another thing. That's why we keep the story. The story is to prevent Jesus's interpretation of everything from eking through. So true. Not to hear his voice. And then again, when we don't follow, we get so guilty because we're not following our light within. And then we get guilty. And then to hide the guilt, then we get defensive. We feel we have to defend the actions that we took. That's why following gets to be easier and easier and easier, because he'll tell you, you'll see even when you follow, sometimes that defense will come up. But then it starts falling away because there's no defense for innocence in following the Holy Spirit. It's just like you can relax. Yeah, Jesus said that. So that's not what I'm going with. And you become so good at saying no to what we always said yes to, death. You get really proficient. I'm asking him, is it fair to say that? At denying the ego. He says, because you have the power to do so. It's completely within my power. You can ask him, Jesus, is it completely within my power to say no to ego? And just hear that yes. And he says, and you won't see that you have this power unless you do. That the infinite power that you have, unless you really say no to it. And as he's reminding me to admit that not knowing our best interest, and just admit that, Jesus, am I willing to admit? And you can just hear that no come up. Am I willing to admit that I don't know my best interest? If it comes up no, let's just ask him for a miracle. I have a miracle and not willing to admit I don't know my best interest. To release any kind of twitch that comes up with one thought of Christ control. Just because it's a concept of what Christ control is. We're fighting them for those concepts. Jesus, don't take my concepts away from me. Little paper tiger. So we're going to go with lesson 11. Jesus, thank you for bringing us together in this holiness. And oh my gosh, to guide us so powerfully to acceptance of divine being. Hashtag supreme happiness. The little rocket ship. You see how it's a rocket ship. It's so great seeing Judy talk about Jesus saying that if this is a fast trip up the mountain, there are lots of ways to climb a mountain. But if you really want to get up there, with the master, Muji would say that when you're with a master, you'll see that your head is above mountains. That's what it is with Jesus. Lift your head above that smoke that's just that cloud, the thunderclap. It's always there. It's like a thunderclap of no to God. And then if we walk around the cloud and we think if we go somewhere else, that cloud's going to dissipate. It's really, I'm asking them, yes, you have to hold still, not go anywhere. Just refuse to go to another place before you've looked with him. And you're sure that that's for your happiness. And admit that you don't know what your happiness and that he knows. And therefore he's saying, okay, am I in a story, Jesus? You can ask him. He says, yeah, he says, you can ask me. Ask me if you're stuck in a story. See, we can be honesty of God on it. I'm going to hold my way. It's going to be a little when I get a prompt from Jesus. It's going to be a little I'm going to try to ooch it. Ask him, Jesus, how often am I totally on point when you're asking me to do something, or do I try to ooch it? Ooch it by a couple of days or a couple of hours, a couple of minutes. Okay, Jesus, I want to look at that. I'm willing. He says, first of all, start with being here with me right now. No, nothing. Then I can tell you of my love for you and God's love for you, and start with that. Infinite. Start infinite, he says. And see that infinite light of being has no challenge with whatever I ask you to do. That's love. He says, start from scratch, no course. That's love. No course, no world, no friends, no family. Just start fresh. You came into the world with all that. Without it, you're fine. He always knows, he always has a point. That's so true. We came into the world, somehow we didn't have a family before we came. Did we? You know, or friends, or where were we? He said, those are just concepts, that you need those. Do we need them, Jesus? And no. But Jesus, I love my family. You don't know what a family is, he says. You have no idea what a family is. He's saying, this is your family right here, the most valuable family you'll ever have. Because he put it together, as he was saying in that video, you know, the constellation of beings. They're going to stand true with you. So you can be, he says you can run, but you can't hide. How can we hide from light? It's with us. Good question. Jesus, can I hide from light? And hear them no. Oh, I love you, Jesus. Lesson 11. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Okay, I'm going to get the totally, yes, I'm willing. Do we feel willing to just have this lesson sing like a cricket, that this lesson is the only thing of value today? He says, yes, go for it. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Jesus, let's start with honesty of God. It's always good. Do I want meaning? Do I have a desire for meaningless thoughts? Okay, yes. We'll start with honesty. Is that a desired experience? Yes. Okay. Okay. Can I have a miracle on that? He says, yes. Oh, so much love. Okay. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Okay. Do I have a desire for a meaningless world? Okay. And I have a miracle for wanting a meaningless world, the desire for that experience. He says, just see how this denies what you are already. Every time you staple meaning on something, every time we staple meaning on something, we just gave ourselves a meaningless world, a world apart from love. This is the first idea we have had that is related to a major phase of the correction process, the reversal of the thinking of the world. Jesus, does my thinking reversal need to be completely reversed for peace of mind? Is there one smidgen of my thinking that I can be unwilling to look at and have peace of mind? You can hear him saying no. It's all in or all in. You just start to see there's no sideways. There's either all in or all in. There's either meaningless thoughts or there's heaven. There's nothing. He's saying, nope, nothing in between that. It seems as if the world determines what you perceive. That is a big one. Let's see if there's any left in there on that. Okay, Jesus. It seems that the world, Jesus, do I have a desire for the world to determine perception still? He goes, yes. Okay. Can you look at that? Yeah. He says, you'll start to see, and I can see how much hell there is in that. Seeming like the world comes out here, breeze blows across your face, and then there's a world out there with a breeze blowing. A sound comes, explosion. That whole trick of that, like that. Ask them if that's a little game. Is that a game, Jesus? Like when it seems like the sound out there, and I go, whoop, as though there's something out there to have a response to, and you can hear them. Yep. That is creating a world and having a desired experience of and then seeming to react to it. You can ask them to pretend like there's something outside. Jesus, is that all happening within me? Thank you. Today, oh, and then the next thing too, when the bomb goes off and then we jump, and then notice it's almost, it launches a little satellite story. A satellite. I just don't know why they have to blow, there's a they, so there's a miscreation of the they experience, have to blow those damn bombs off. See, then it goes into a story. Okay, now it's going to hunt for another figure in the dream to talk about the story. And as he's reminding me about Willie, my little pet squirrel. God help that little squirrel. I came one winter, and there were two little baby squirrels. They were young, and it's like freezing cold out there. And I started hand feeding them. And then little Willie, which was a she. But it was so helpful just kind of observing Willie, like sitting there and just eating his little nuts on the balcony there, and some kind of hawk swooped down to try to get Willie, and really goes bing off into the tree. Okay. And then I thought, well, I'm not gonna be seeing little Willie, and then I'm going, oh, Willie, eating, I'm like this. And then I looked 3 minutes, it wasn't like 3 minutes, there's Willie just calmly eating those nuts, little sunflower seeds peeling them. It's like, I just realized that squirrel's more awake than I am for sure, because it just doesn't. Okay, next. It's not going and looking for another squirrel somewhere and tell about how bad that hawk, compare the hawk. My hawk's bigger than your hawk. It just, that's how consciousness plays. It's just, it has to relive. That's what it is. It's a story reliver. You'll never believe what happened. Now, the ego, Jesus can use stories with his interpretation. You can just ask him on a story, Jesus, is my interpretation or your interpretation of the story? He's really given me a lot of stories right now. Must need to see a lot on stories. Because last night you started that chapter on storytelling again. He's just reminding me, yeah. And I'm asking him, he's saying, yes, to go a week without a story. And see, he'd feel like he'll blow up. I want to live without a story and just see how many stories, scratches on the bedpost, like, a plane, and the planes would take down an enemy, they just put a scratch on the plane for each one that went down. We could see there would be a lot of hatches on the stories, all the storytelling that just rises up, and then we, fall into the sleep of the story. Today's idea introduces the concept that your thoughts determine the world you see. Jesus, am I willing to see fully? Because this is what I'm seeing. Every time I think I would be totally willing to see, he'd show me another layer where I'm really not willing to see it at all. The world, the thoughts determine the world you see. It's like we don't even know how determined we are to keep the thoughts, to keep the world the way we want to see it. Jesus, am I determined to keep the thoughts, to keep the world the way I want to see it? See, the ego, you can see that in chapter 20, it goes into that desire for the experience, that if the ego allows no change to come in, see, it's going to try to keep hold. That's how it keeps a hold. But that's not how it keeps a hold. That's how we abdicate to be controlled by the ego. So it's hilarious. We think God's going to control us and do something to us when we've abdicated ourselves to be controlled by the ego, to be an ego puppet. We can ask Jesus, if I abdicated divine being to be an ego puppet, a little character puppet on the strings of the ego, and then fight for it, like totally fight to keep being on the strings, and to come up with all the reasons why we're on the strings of the ego and God doesn't love us. That's bringing up Pinocchio, maybe. David would talk about, being on the strings of the Holy Spirit, puppet of God. Just see you are God. It's just that simple. And for a time, it can seem like God is pulling the strings. Just to see that you have no strings, you're without strings. Infinite light doesn't know what strings are. Just is. It's not beholding to anything. Yet I can see that. Fight. Hold on to the strings of the ego. So precious. Like they're so precious when we're unhappy, we're sick, we're just totally miserable. And yet we're fighting to follow Jesus. No, I'm not gonna, no. That's the play, though, of unhappiness. Be glad indeed to practice the idea in its initial form, for in this idea is your release made sure. Let's ask him. That feels good. Jesus, so my release is made sure in my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. You can hear him, yes. This is a really good opportunity to deeply practice these lessons, isn't it? Really with everything. It says, yes, it's a really good. The key to forgiveness lies in it, that the thoughts are meaningless. The practice periods for today's idea are to be undertaken somewhat differently from the previous ones. Begin with your eyes closed and repeat the idea slowly to yourself. Okay? My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Then open your eyes and look about, near and far, and up and down, anywhere. During the minute or so to be spent using the idea, merely repeat it to yourself, being sure to do so without hassle and with no sense of urgency. That feels good. Meaningless thoughts. We'll do that for a minute. It feels wonderful. It feels like love. Meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. You just feel yourself starting to relax. Sure to do during the minute or so to be spent in using the idea, merely repeat it to yourself, being sure to do so without haste and no sense of urgency, no effort. He's really, that's so helpful. You know, you don't see it because obviously consciousness didn't want to see it. I was really teaching us the effortless nature of waking up because there's such an idea that it requires effort. I'm asking him, he says, yes, you have the idea that it takes effort to be who you are. And when you're wanting to keep effort alive, the idea, the concept that effort's needed for waking up, that's clear. Okay, I'm willing to see that it's effortless, Jesus. To do these exercises for maximum benefit, the eyes should move from one thing to another fairly rapidly, since they should not linger on anything in particular. My meaningless thoughts of the meaningless world. The words, however, should be used in an unhurried, even leisurely fashion. This feels really good. You can have a conversation with them directly about this. He's saying, yes, you can just converse with him about this lesson. Okay, Jesus is, am I relaxed? Am I using effort? You have him coach you directly. He's saying, yep. Now that's direct. Am I leisurely or I'm rushing through this, Jesus? This is Christ control, where he's just fine tuning everything. He says, yes. You can have a conversation with me about everything, every lesson, every line, am I going too fast? I'm trying to rush through this lesson. I wish this lesson never happened, whatever. You know, there are times when you just want to take that whole Course in Miracles book and toss it out. Jesus says, good, toss it out and be with me. The introduction to this idea in particular should be practiced as casually as possible. It contains the foundation for the peace, relaxation, and freedom from worry that we're trying to achieve. Just start yawning out these energies. You can ask them, is that release? You just yawning out all that old dead energy, suppressed energy of death. You can ask him. That's what he tells me. On concluding the exercises, close your eyes and repeat the idea once more slowly to yourself. My meaningless thoughts are giving me a meaningless world. You can just relax with that sentence. I just feel really, oh. He's saying that you really won't know the value of these teachings until you really practice them fully, like really let them detonate. You see how much the mind relaxes, he's showing me. I wasn't relaxed at all. He said, yeah, you weren't. The first time I started doing it, I was like, so if you're tense, he says you're working too hard. Thank you. Okay. So if we're tense about, he says if you're tense about anything, you're working too hard. That's a signal of the no. This is just about letting go all that tension, that holding on. I'm happy to call this the yawning in purpose circle, because it just releases and releases rather than just building it all up and holding it. 3 practice periods, like Rita's saying. Boy, my jaw's really relaxed. Since I got here, it just relaxes. That your whole, he's telling me right now, your whole body can be like that. Just completely relaxed. You know, like a cat. Yeah, you know, it's like a cat just lays down. It's like a puddle. You pick it up and like it like pours. You could pour it like a drink of water. It's just, he says, you know, and yeah, you know, it's just, that isn't, you know, and the only thing that's moving is that little tail. It's kind of like a leisurely little whoop. I said, relax like that, Jesus. He said, yeah, you just totally. Like, it's so hilarious because you can see it. The if then on relax. Like, if this happens, like I can go to the beach and relax. I could see that play, man. I'll finally get to relax when I get away from here, you know? I'll finally get to relax when I go to the beach on vacation. I asked him that. He says, you can be just a puddle now, just a little puddle of relaxation. Like, okay. He says you can't relax until you're following me. You see how hard, you just can't. Because you're following that which is made to deny God and therefore feel like like God's going to get you all the time. Theory practice periods today will probably be sufficient. However, if there's little or no uneasiness and an inclination to do more, as many as 5 may be undertaken. He says, just relax. You know, I can see that, you know, that was the play in consciousness. Oh, Jesus is like, I'm going to have to work at these silly practice periods. You know, and then you'd feel guilt because you didn't do them. And until you see that there's no guilt, that's just, ask me, Jesus, can I ask you to help me remember? Yes. I love you. I'm here to help you remember what you can't forget, what you can only pretend you can forget. See, and the ego thought is so resistant even to these thoughts of God. We can only take it for 5 minutes. That's how much we believe in weakness. Is that true? That's exactly, he knows. Then the ego will put up such a fight, and then it gets to be a chore and make it a chore. And more than this is not recommended. Thank you, Jesus. Let your heart be light, to be really light. Thank you, Jesus. And when you're not feeling light, oh, so much love in this, he said, just join with your brother. To see that you can't do anything wrong. It's impossible to do anything wrong. You're tense when you're thinking you're doing something wrong. You're tense when you're defending against hearing, oh, there's so much love in this, hearing my voice. You're going to be tense. Do the light test on everything. Do the light test. And see if the light's out to get you, make you do something you don't want to do. It's just here. See that whenever you think you're going to be made to do something, you're making yourself do something you don't want to do. See, it's not what Jesus is going to make you do. It's the fact that you're making yourself do something you don't want to do right now because you're tense. And it's not in alignment with spirit. See how the ego plays? It's going to make that a future no. A future something bad's happening. It's always complaining about something bad going to happen when it's making something bad experience right now. So true. Oh, thank you for this beautiful lesson and the beautiful mighties that come together to celebrate. And anyone who would like to join us to ask Jesus questions, it's really contemplation, these the circles. So he's giving this opportunity, not for discussion, but to really, open our hearts to listen to him and continue that it's very a loving response, that we're not who we think we are. So we'll have that at 2:00, and we thank Yetta for jumping on board, and Hustara needs to step out at 2. But we will record this, so please send your questions. You can text them, however you want to send them, or just come and ask, and we celebrate. And we can also, if it's helpful, have a joining session after coming together to hear everyone speak God. Love you. Thank you. Love you.
Good morning. Welcome to this Holy Light Circle. And thank you for joining to look deeply together with Jesus. Let's join in the light of God's love with our brother Jesus. Today's lesson is number 11 in A Course of Miracles. My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. The desire given from this lesson is, Jesus, do I relish a desire below my level of awareness to value my meaningless thoughts so that I experience a meaningless, unhappy world? Jesus, in honesty of God, do I have the desire to experience a meaningless, unhappy world hidden below my level of awareness?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. If Jesus reveals to you that you have a desire below your level of awareness that you are valuing more than the love of the Father, admit the desire and ask for a miracle. Jesus, do I value the desire to value my meaningless thoughts so that I experience a meaningless, unhappy world more than I value the love of God?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Jesus, am I ready for the miracle on this desire? Or is there more to see?
More to see.
There's more.
More. More.
More to see.
More to see.
More.
Jesus, will you show me that the desire to value my meaningless thoughts so that I experience a meaningless, unhappy world does not have the value that I think it does? Yes.
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 Jesus, have I accepted a miracle on this desire?
Yes. No.
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 There can be many miracles on the way to fully releasing a desire, as Jesus moves us deeper into the hidden corners of the mind. Jesus, am I complete with this desire to value my meaningless thoughts so that I experience a meaningless, unhappy world? Or do I need to go even deeper and look further with you?
Deeper.
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 Deeper. Jesus, do I value the desire to value my meaningless thoughts so that I experience a meaningless, unhappy world more than I value the love of God?
Yes.
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 Yes. Jesus, am I ready for the miracle on this desire? Or is there more to see?
Ready.
More to see.
More to see. More.
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 More. Jesus, will you show me that the desire to value my meaningless thoughts so that I experience a meaningless, unhappy world does not have the value that I think it does?
Yes.
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 Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Jesus, have I accepted a miracle on this desire?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
No. There can be many miracles on the way to fully releasing a desire. As Jesus moves us now even deeper into the hidden corners of the mind. Jesus, am I complete with this desire to value my meaningless thoughts so that I experience a meaningless, unhappy world? Or do I need to go even deeper and look further with you?
Deeper.
Deeper.
Deeper. Deeper.
Deeper.
Deeper. Jesus, do I value the desire to value my meaningless thoughts so that I experience a meaningless, unhappy world more than I value the love of God? Yes.
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 Yes. Jesus, am I ready for the miracle on this desire? Or is there more to see?
Ready.
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 Ready. Jesus, will you show me that the desire to value my meaningless thoughts so that I experience a meaningless, unhappy world does not have the value that I think it does? Yes.
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 Jesus, have I accepted a miracle on this desire?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. There can be many miracles on the way to fully releasing a desire. As Jesus moves us even deeper into the hidden corners of the mind. Jesus, am I complete with this desire to value my meaningless thoughts so that I experience a meaningless, unhappy world? Or do I need to go even deeper?
Complete for now.
Complete.
For now. Complete.
Deeper.
Complete for now.
Deeper. Jesus, will you show me that the desire to value my meaningless thoughts so that I experience a meaningless, unhappy world does not have the value that I think it does?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Jesus, have I accepted a miracle on this desire?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. There can be many miracles on the way to fully releasing a desire, as Jesus moves us deeper into the hidden corners of the mind. Jesus, am I complete with this desire? Or do I need to go even deeper?
Complete.
Complete.
Complete. Complete.
Complete.
Complete. Thank you, Jesus, for this miracle. Thank you, beloved mighty companions, for your dedication and willingness to look. And if anything more comes up on this desire throughout the day, join with Jesus to continue looking, or you can put a request in to join with a mighty companion in Messenger, a New Covenant chat group. And now we will practice speaking the voice for God by sharing what Jesus tells us to say about what we have learned in this lesson, in this session. Anything we have learned or that he would like us to remember, or anywhere that Jesus has shown us the flip of heaven and hell. And remember that every share is healing for the whole mind and so helpful to us all for our learning.
I'll share. He's he's been encouraging me to be proactive. And what he was saying is, let me say everything for you. This way you can finally relax or rest. And then also reminding me of like marinating in the miracle and letting it sink in a little bit more, because I kind of tend to go, ping. Even if I've accepted a miracle, then I want to like spring back into whatever it is I've got going on. all the thoughts, and so it's a reminder to be still and listen, and just go listen deeply. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Yeah, Jesus was speaking to me during the morning lesson through Kay. The big thing for me now is trust, to really, really be willing to trust in every moment and listen and not get impatient. And she said, you have to trust. You have to learn to trust and follow in order to build on that trust. You have to take that step. You have to step into the fire, which was a nerve-wracking word, but it really is nothing that I'm stepping into. And yeah, he says it's just all about letting go of what you think you know, letting go of the belief that you have to do it yourself in order for it to be done right, and realizing how the tension will fall away. Because I carry tension throughout the day when I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm not listening and following. So that's the and the other thing she said was you have to, this is such a big one, you have to say no to the ego in order to realize the power you have given you by God. I have to say no, and I have to be willing to stand steadfast and just say no and stick with Jesus. He showed me a vision of being on a really old ropey type bridge, a creaky bridge going across a cavern, something like in Indiana Jones, and the boards falling through, and the fear I have of this isn't safe. And then he gave me the vision of being on a steel bridge encased in glass, bulletproof glass, that you could fill it with people and it could never break. And he says, when you're walking with me, you're on the safest bridge you could ever be on. So, pretty powerful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David.
I'll share. Wow, I really heard these shares, Renee's and David's, and I got upside down. I really have it all upside down. Kay said something about, and I don't even know if I understood her right. That's how upside down it all is. Something about the greatest happiness is when we are not in control. I think that was right. And I really like, and this thing of trying to do it myself. And Jesus told me I want to be rescued. And I said, yeah, I do. And then he said, from what? And it's my own thinking that I have made so real, and they are totally meaningless. These thoughts, they're not God's thoughts, they're not real. And that sense of safety and that saying no to the ego, I am already home. And I have no idea what that means or is or anything. And I just, again, there's just this let go and let go and let go and let go. And let go of the control and let go of the I don't have any. It's just all I rest. I'm safe. I can rest. And I just need to stay in the now. I'm really rushing ahead. And anyway, and he's saying stop. So I'm stopping.
Thank you, Fran. Is anyone else feeling prompted to share what they're hearing?
I will, Sharon. Well, this whole lesson was just for me. I'm like, oh, ouch, ooh, ouch, 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 ooh, ouch. And one of the first ouches was the recognition that I want to create upset that I think is about the future. Okay, Jesus, if you ask me to do this, that's not going to work. And so this tension arises where I'm just loving the tension. It's all about loving the tension. And he keeps bringing me back to this point where I'm willing in this moment, in this point right now, which we hear over and over again is all there is. But boy, I do, my ego mind really wants to fight that. This is not all there is. I've got da, 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 da going on. So anyway, bringing it back to the point where I'm just willing to be silent and not know, and have no clue what happiness is. I have no clue what happy. I think I do. My mind keeps trying to conjure it up. So my takeaway is stop and be right here, right now, and be silent. And be willing not to know anything. I don't know anything. And then, as we're all hearing, as David was saying, trust it in that moment. It's all going to be given because it always is. When I'm really totally focused on listening, right now, Jesus, what do you want me to see for the healing of my mind? He always comes through. It's only when I start putting up smoke screens that he starts to disappear in my mind. So today, Fran, you've talked about mantras. My mantra is to be in this moment and ask him what it is he wants me to see right now, and let everything else go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Beautiful.
Yeah, he was showing me that I just have been really skimming the surface on this whole thought thing. And I just got done listening to the Kay's message from yesterday. So the one yesterday blew me away. And then this one, like, just blew the doors off. I'm still just, I'm gonna have to sit on this for days, I think, to soak it all in. But he said, it almost takes an upset for you to really listen to me, because those meaningless thoughts are really reeling and they're deep. And you also want like this instant big download so you can just go, check, did that, I get that one. But he said, we're going to take it just minute by minute. Like you were saying, Mary, just one thought at a time, and be still and listen. And like what Kay said, he said, make it your only priority to know God, is to know God. Excuse me. And just that thought, not like, because when I think that, I think, oh, there's some kind of sacrifice or there's going to be a loss. No, just know God. That's your priority above all else, and which my first thought was, I really need to look at all these concepts, like she was mentioning, family concept is huge. You know, that involves, that's what I'm thinking involves loss, sacrifice. And, if I get to know God, I got to give up my family for some reason. But like she said, you're my family, right? So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
I'll share what I'm getting in these lessons. They're just going up like a staircase, getting deeper and deeper. And I am applying more and more and really feeling the benefits of doing the application. And I got the message to just keep on going. And I'm feeling just being aware of the feeling when I have that in the lesson in the forefront. It actually keeps me from reacting to things because I have that. I'm in the moment more. So yeah, then my message was to just keep on applying. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Is anyone else feeling prompted to share? I'm hearing we are complete.
Well,
sorry.
there may be something.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. I just was asking him about like accepting a miracle quickly. I've kind of been asking that, but not really. It's like just needing to say no to the ego and see that I can say no to the denial very quickly. So he was showing me like that unhappiness is meaningless and that it's just the thoughts, like I guess I am complete, and I'm, he's just reminding me again to marinate. So he's bringing me back to that, and to really let it sink in, because I like to start to go into the thoughts again. So thanks.
Thank you, Renee. Just a reminder to everyone about case satsang this evening at 7 p.m. Central. And the topic this evening, which is very timely, is mind wandering and condoning miscreation. And Kay mentioned a couple of things that really resonated with me today in her video, that if you're tense, you're working too hard. And reminding us of the effortless nature of waking up. And that I learned from her today, I can't relax until I'm following Jesus, which really resonated for me. And finally, she said, let's remember throughout the day what Kay mentioned in the lesson. Be willing to have this lesson be the only thing of value today. So thank you, Jesus, for the miracle. Thank you, Mighties, for joining. And we'll see you next time. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Sharon.
Everyone,
Thank you,
love
everyone.
you.
Sharon.
Beautiful
Hi,
shares.
everyone.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you, Jesus.
Oh,
Thank you
yes.
so much.
Thank
Love
you
you all.
for your beautiful shares. Yeah. Beautiful shares. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Sharon.
it's like I need that
Thank you, my
reminder that it
brothers
doesn't
as
have
well.
value.
Yeah, love you all.
Thank you.
Love you.
Jesus.